version.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, our Wednesday edition, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, on Mac Sports and Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook pages. Please like, follow, and share our Facebook pages, and subscribe to the new Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel for all the great Northeast Streaming Sports show. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. Our website is nessp.info. For info on all our shows, the guests, bios, information on sports, stores, and links to those stores. I'm Mac, your host, and normally your co-host is legendary boxing writer himself, Jack Hirsch, also a New York State Hall of Fame boxing inductee this year, having to take care of some pressing issues, so he won't be in with me, joining me today. But we are normally here together, me today by myself, together bringing you national sports with special focus on Northeast professional sports teams from New York, Boston, and Philly. And even though Jack isn't with me today, we'll have a very exciting show for you today. We have a lot of guests scheduled to come in. Good morning to you, Howard. Glad you could join us this morning. So we'll have a lot of guests this morning, folks. We have up first scheduled Carter B. with your NHL news, scheduled at 8:30. We have the Philly sports guy himself, Jamie Pags. And at the same time, we also have scheduled in Joe Santaloquito, who is from the Philly Voice, a very famous writer, newsbreaker, and he'll be coming on at the same times with Pags, so it should be very interesting to have them both on together. At 9, we have Randy Lang scheduled in. Jets, he's the consultant, the senior consultant over there at the New York Jets PR department. Of course, we know they got a new coach, and he'll be bringing us up to date on what's going on over there. And at 9:30, we'll be doing our baseball review today with Brett Kell from Binging or Binging Baseball, whichever one it is. We're going to straighten that out when he gets in here. But he will be in, and we'll be going all over the baseball updates and interesting things that's going on in there. So a lot of great things coming up on today's show. A couple big stories out of the Olympics. First, the medal count. In the top 5 of gold medals, the home country, surprise, Japan with 11. I'm not saying there's any favoritism going on there, folks, but it seems that the home teams always get more gold medals than they normally do when they're playing somewhere else, when the games are held somewhere else. The United States and China are tied in second with 11 gold medals. With 10 gold medals. Russia with 7. Australia with 6 gold medals. And Great Britain with 5. So that's your medal count as far as the gold medals go. The United States leads all medals gotten there with 29. So the medals count in gold were in second, and total medals were in first. The biggest stories may not be what happened over there, what's been going on, but what hasn't happened, and things that have kind of have kind of upset, I would say, or maybe bigger stories than the medals themselves, is Simone Biles, the outstanding United States gymnast. And I know most of us have seen her do her thing. I mean, she's incredible, what she can do during her gymnastic competitions. I think she won 3 golds last time they had the Olympics. She pulled out from team competition after trying an awkward, low-scoring vault. Now, there's different ratings for different types of attempts, where she still stumbled after landing. She's citing mental illness or mental health issues, I should say, not illness. Let's say mental health issues of intense pressure to achieve perfection and fear of judgment from the public. Now, the amount of pressure these Olympians have to be under, it has got to be intense, right? I mean, especially the gymnasts who are very young when they start. Some as young as 13, 14 have competed in the gymnasts in the Olympics. So really young kids. It's too bad. I mean, she's a great gymnast and just a perfect at what she does. She still will compete in the individual events she's qualified in. So she's worried about bringing the team down, and maybe somebody else will step up. It all sounds good, but wow, huh? That's a big surprise. I mean, she was almost a lock to win the gold and help the United States team win golds. The men's basketball team, they did beat that powerhouse basketball country over there, Iran, yesterday by something like, 28, 44, 58 points, whatever. It was ridiculous. But what I was looking at was after the first loss to Spain. They lose, and there was grumblings as they're walking back to the locker room that, they can't play Coach Pop's style, right? Popovich. And, he was running a San Antonio offense. Well, what do you expect a future Hall of Fame coach to run? The Lakers offense? Of course he's going to run the San Antonio offense. That's what he teaches. So it said a lot to me again about the modern day players, right? I mean, they said they have better ideas and, they're blaming the coach when they didn't shoot the ball well. They didn't play as a team well. And there's reasons for that. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of quite a few of them came over late after the playoffs, and they haven't been working together as a team. So the chemistry is off. But, God forbid it's their fault not executing as a team. I mean, why don't you just say, hey, we didn't shoot well. We didn't play well as a team. We stunk. Right away looking to blame somebody else. And it's just, I mean, it just blows my mind every time I hear stuff like this, right? And this is why I've always said, we did our dream team thing a long time ago. We showed the world that our NBA players are better than theirs. Give it back to the kids. Let the kids play. Let the top 10 draft choices. Let them form their team, go over there and compete. They'd have a chance. I mean, they may not win gold every time. They have won gold as college athletes before, college basketball teams. They have beat, the other teams around the world. And I don't want to hear about, the pros from the NBA go and play with their home teams and, they're professionals over there because, this is what they may not get paid as well as the NBA, but they've been playing there for years and they get special gifts and they live for free, whatever you want to say. I mean, for sure the college kids will play hard as they can. There'll be no excuses. They won't be blaming the coach. They won't be blaming the fans. They won't be blaming travel. They'll be happy as hell to go over there and compete for the Olympics. So we beat Iran. I think we got some other crazy team we're playing next before we step up to Spain. This next game should be an easy one too. And hopefully they get their team chemistry together and they start playing like a team. But enough with the excuses, man. Stop with it's the coach's fault. All right? Coach Pop is one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. And I mean, I know you guys are all stars and everything and that you're the superstars, but come on, man. Come on. When you mess up, when you don't play well, you don't play well. Stop with moving the blame around all the time. So that's interesting. Aaron Rodgers, of course, is back in the news. He reported to camp like I knew he would. He doesn't want to be fined some $50,000 for every day he's not there and not get paid. Of course he's going to be there. The news is that the team has, kind of worked his contract so he can get out next year, and easier for him to get out anyway. And so, they're working out an agreement. Well, the first agreement was for nothing, right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers signed the line. I'm going to be here for my extension. And now he's not going to be there for extension. So what good is the agreement to begin with? So any agreement they have right now, I don't know how it's valid if you're just going to do what you want to do anyway and sit the season out and request a trade. There's talk of Watson being traded. What team's going to pick up Watson? Great quarterback, no doubt about it. But those problems that are around him right now, we don't know what the heck's going to go on with Watson as far as legally or as far as what the NFL is going to do. So, a team signing him would be taking a huge, huge risk if he's not able to play. I don't know what kind of contract that would be. Would they be responsible for it? Would they have to start all over building again, looking for another quarterback? Not for me to say, but great quarterback, great athlete. I don't know what's going to happen as far as, what's going to happen in the future with them. I would be scared. How you doing, David? Good to see you today. So there you go as far as that goes. As far as Watson, the Miami cornerback who led the league in interceptions last year is wanting to get out of Miami too. Just signed an extension. Had 10 interceptions last year, led the league, and now he wants out, or do something with his contract. It always amazes me, folks. Well, backstage right now, we got Carter Benavinga. I'm not even going to try that again, Carter. Carter B, one of my favorite guests that come in. He knows a lot about hockey. He studies it. He diagrams it. I think even he eats hockey for supper. So we're going to bring him up right now and see how he's doing and what's going on over there in hockey right now, Carter. So how you doing today, Carter?
Hey, Mac, how you doing?
I'm hanging right in there, my friend. Carter, I know the NHL ain't playing. The draft happened, and the news will be slow until the season starts or any other things that come up. But there's still things out there that we need to take a look at. It looks like the Knights traded goalie Marc-Andre Fleury. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, so he's being traded. His agent supposedly hasn't been contacted. He hasn't been contacted. And he'll be taking time, and this seems to have happened. The Knights didn't say nothing to him. So he'll be talking about the situation with his family, seeing if he wants to retire. That may be a choice. Wouldn't you think that the Knights would say, hey, thanks for those years you played. This is what's going on. That's kind of bad. That's kind of low, don't you think?
Yeah, you figure, that's kind of customary, especially since Marc-Andre Fleury was kind of the face of the Golden Knights franchise ever since he was drafted in the expansion draft. But I guess at the end of the day, hockey's more of a business over a friendship, as unfortunate as that is for me to say. And I do know that I'm pretty sure that Marc-Andre Fleury doesn't want to play for the Blackhawks. So again, he's contemplating whether he would want to retire or actually report to Chicago to play for the Blackhawks. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. If I had to put money on it, I would say that he just retires at this point, because I believe he wants to end his career as a Golden Knight, but I guess anything can happen.
So, is Chicago that bad of a team to go to, or is it just the way they did it, or what do you think that is? Why wouldn't he want to go play for the Blackhawks?
Chicago's not in the greatest spot right now. I definitely think Fleury would improve that, but I don't think it's anything that, I don't think they're like a Stanley Cup contender or anything. I also think that obviously Fleury's, he's 36 now. Obviously, I don't think he would want to move his family halfway across the country at this point in his career. So, if I had to imagine, I would assume that he would retire. I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see. But I will say this. I do think he would make a good addition to the Blackhawks. He would definitely stabilize their goaltending, and he would definitely increase their odds of making them a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, he is a good goalie. It's too bad. I mean, not even being friendship, just being right with somebody, right? Thank you, and we're doing this, and now I mean, not even contacting him. I don't even care about his agent. I mean, that's just pretty low. So they came out with draft grades, Carter, and these are always interesting to me because, of course, it's all based off opinion, right? The Islanders didn't pick until 52. They chose is it Rady or Ratty? Carter, who they chose.
It's actually pronounced a little bit weird. It's actually pronounced Ratu, believe it or not. So
Ratu.
it's a bit weird, but yeah. So
and they picked up it looks like Tristan Lennox and Alexei Malinin. They say they're both promising. Picking at 52 has got to be tough, but they're saying that's a pretty good draft for number 52 for Ratu. So, what are your thoughts on those 3 draft picks? I don't know if you even took a look at maybe the last 2, but what are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I paid attention to Ratu more than the other 2, but I think at the end of the day, the Islanders made the best of the situation that they had. I mean, they went into this draft without a first-round pick, and to have a guy like Ratu still on the board, at one point he was actually considered the number 1 pick in the draft. I mean, yeah, a lot of people are wondering why he dropped a lot, but I think at the end of the day, the pandemic definitely had something to do with that. I think that, the whole, the pandemic affects players in different ways, and I think obviously it affected him, dropped his play a little bit. And, at the end of the day, I mean, he's playing over in a Liga in Finland, which means that he's playing against men as a 17 or 18-year-old kid. So at the end of the day, he is very promising. I think he has the potential to be either a second or a third line center in the NHL, and it's definitely going to be entertaining to see what he develops into.
Very, very, very cool. The Devils United brothers drafting Luke Hughes and putting him with Jack Hughes. Not too many of those. I mean, I remember Gordie Howe with his son, and there have been families that played together. What do you think about Luke Hughes? You think that's a good pickup? I mean, just having that brother on the team, will it make them a little bit more cohesive over there, or does it really matter?
I love that Luke Hughes pick at number 4. I think that finally gives them that dynamic, young, puck-moving defenseman that they've been looking for. I do know that NHL free agency opens up today at noon, so I think the Devils will make a pretty big splash in terms of a defenseman. But for now, Luke Hughes is definitely a good option for the future. I don't know if the fact that him and Jack are brothers really had much of an effect on whether he was drafted at 4 by the Devils, but I definitely think it was the right pick in my eyes.
In the Bruins pick Fabian Lysell, a fast, skilled winger. They're saying that will help them offensively. I don't know. See, the hard thing about the draft is you don't know how long it's going to be till these guys really get up there and play. It's more of Lex potential and what they see in these guys. So that's what he's supposed to be. The Rangers selected sharpshooter Brennan Othman, or is it Othman? I'm not sure. But the Rangers seem to have enough offense. Why would they be going for a sharpshooter, not a defenseman, Carter?
Well, I think that, when you get down to that point in the draft, you're just selecting the best player who you think is available. And obviously, Othman was there for the taking for the Rangers, so that's why they picked him up. Othman's a unique player because he has a pretty unique blend of skill and, he can play physical too, right? He's known for having a bit of a grittier side to his game. So, I think the Rangers were attracted more to that than they were obviously to his offensive upside, although the offense doesn't hurt. And Lysell for the Bruins, I mean, he's going to be a pretty good addition for them. I think, obviously for Boston, I mean, they've picked a lot of defensemen over the last couple of drafts. So it was interesting to see them go with a forward this time around. And I definitely think that picking Lysell at 21, I definitely didn't think he would be there. So it's a steal for the Bruins.
Well, we got Pags in early. I want to go over the Flyers, but I want to bring him up too. Get your thoughts, get Pags' thoughts on it. I mean, he's normally here early, and he's always itching to come on. That's why I love the guy. So let's bring him up and let's talk a little bit about the Flyers pick. And depending on whether our next guest comes in or not, we might be talking to Pags just about Philly news, which would be fine with me either way. I mean, he's great Philly reporter, knows his stuff, knows all about Philly, and he especially knows about the Flyers. So let's bring Pags up. How we doing, Pags?
Good morning. Jack, you got so much more hair today.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, Jack had some pressing things he had to do today, so I gave him the day off. So the Flyers pick up and they draft, I should say, And is this guy like Hawaiian? I mean, that's his name is Sama Tuamahala. Am I saying it right? Samu Taumahala? How's that?
Sure. I to be honest, I haven't even heard his name yet. So you're actually introducing me to him. I have been. So when it comes to the NHL draft, I mean, God bless Carter because he can handle all that stuff. It's beyond me. It's nothing like the NFL draft where you can find out a lot about it. You get to see a couple of clips about these guys, and you got to trust the fact that the GMs know what they're talking about and such like that. There's usually like 3 names that are really big in the draft that make a splash, and everybody else is just like a pickup, and you're hoping. So the fact that they've got a really unique name, it seems like unique names always seem to shine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you're having a hard time saying it.
Okay, am I pronouncing it right, Carter? Is it Samu Tuamohala?
I'm going to be honest. I have no idea who that is.
Okay, so this guy is supposed to be a sniper.
That makes me happy. That makes me happy because I tell you, that's the one thing I feel like the Flyers need. They need guys to be able to put the puck in the net. I think what I do have a question for Carter because there was one of the most unique trades that I've ever seen happen where the Flyers traded Gostisbehere and 2 picks for, I think, nothing. And I want to know, first off, have you ever seen anything like that? I know for as long as I've been playing hockey, the strangest thing that I thought I've seen up to that point was the trading of a guy who didn't play in the NHL for about 7 years just to get rid of some contract. Then that was something that Hextall did. This is the first time I've ever seen somebody just kind of given away. And in the process, we gave them a couple of draft picks too.
I actually have seen it before because the Islanders did it a few weeks ago with Andrew Ladd. They traded him to the Coyotes as well. So, at the end of the day, I mean, it's a cap dump for both teams, and if the Coyotes are willing to take it on, then so be it. I guess it's contracts that both teams needed to get out of paying, and thankfully the Coyotes were there for the taking.
So, does it make the Coyotes any better? Do you think?
The Andrew Ladd move, no. Shane Gostisbehere, I think maybe. I feel like he could play top 4 minutes for them just because of how weak their decor is, especially considering now they traded Ekman-Larsson. So, if Gostisbehere can be back to being, he doesn't even have to be like fantastic. I mean, even if he's average, I feel like he'd make a pretty good impact on the Coyotes. So, I feel like he'd get power play time at that point. He'd be pretty good, just at 5-on-5. So, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
So let me give you a little bit more information about the first round draft choice, right? So supposedly he models his game after Pastrnak. Great speed, has to get a little bit bigger and stronger. Your second pick was a goalie, which was Aleves Kolosov, played against men in the KHL. And your third pick was Brian Zanetti. Boy, I wish they were all named like that. A defenseman with length, reach, and skating ability. So those were your top 3 draft choices for the Flyers. Also signing, I didn't know you guys signed Keith Yandle for $900,000, 2 packs, 1-year contract. So
that's a show me contract. Yeah. Let's see what you can have happen. There was a lot of other bigger trades that happened. The picking up of Ryan Ellis. I know that we talked about that briefly last week. I was just happy that they got rid of Nolan Patrick. That was really the big deal for me. At the trading of Haig for Ristolainen. Also, I happen to be a fan of Ristolainen only because he would kill the Flyers every time we played Buffalo. Buffalo had a crap team, and it seemed like they played their best games against the Flyers, and Ristolainen was always the part of that. And we got rid of our biggest contract, Jacob Voracek, for Cam Atkinson, which was also a really big deal as far as I was concerned. I mean, getting rid of Jacob was, I think, necessary to be able to clear up all that cap space. It was just a really, it was just starting to weigh down the Flyers. I mean, now they have their biggest cap hit is Giroux, who he's in the final year of his contract, and my expectation is that if a team going to the Cup is interested, he may waive his no trade clause if the Flyers aren't in the mix. Otherwise, they'll probably bring him back next year at about a $3 million, per year, 2-year contract. My thought.
Wow. Yeah, supposedly Yandel played with the head coach Van Aalt 1 year together with the Rangers. So I guess they know each other a little bit. And I guess that's maybe why they picked him up, Pags. That's something a lot of coaches do. They try to bring over former players that they've worked with before, and because they kind of know what they are and what they can do and how they help the team. So maybe a great signing for you. We'll see what happens with that.
And I think that Elaine is on the hot seat. And maybe I'd like to hear Carter's opinion about this. I kind of have a feeling that if the Flyers come out of the gate very slow, that there's going to be a short hook for Alain Vigneault, and that I'm going to give him maybe 20, 25 games, and if they are towards the bottom of that division, that they are probably going to pull, like I said, a quick hook. The Flyers have been really fast since obviously losing Hextall. They've been really quick to just pull the rug out from underneath coaches. I'd like to hear what Carter has to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be surprised. I think that, obviously after the season the Flyers had last year, the expectation is to bounce back. And a lot of that does lie on Vigneault as much as, a lot of people might say that it lies more on the players than anything else. But at the end of the day, Vigneault's there to hype up the players. He's there to really just, get his group ready for battle. And he hasn't been doing that a ton last season. So, I do agree with you, Pags. I think, if the Flyers get out to a slow start over the first 25, maybe even 30 games, close to that halfway point of the season, it definitely wouldn't surprise me to see Vigneault off the Flyers bench.
I mean, doesn't the GM share some of that responsibility for constructing the team too? I mean, you got your players, you've got to put together a winner. Doesn't the GM share some of that responsibility, Pags and Carter?
I agree that he does, and the problem is that when you're the GM and the president, there's only one guy that can fire you, and that's the ownership, really. And my expectation is that all the heads are going to roll, as they say it. Crap rolls downhill, and it's going to roll a lot faster below him than it is above him. So it's especially the way the Flyers have been doing their franchise lately. They have been put more trust in the GM than they do in the coaching staff. My other question for Carter, just because I value his opinion on this, they picked up another assistant coach, and I was very critical about the assistant coaches last year on the Flyers because I felt that the defense was horrible, the special teams was horrible. How much does an assistant coach weigh in when it comes to formulating a team and going forth with a plan?
Well, I think it can be huge. I mean, if I'm looking at it from an Islander point of view anyway, Barry Trotz is the main guy, and he has a bunch of assistant coaches, mainly Lane Lambert, who runs the defensive core, and he's really the one who kind of keeps that defensive engine running, if you will, for a team like the Islanders, who their defense is their style of play. Like, their defense is what wins them hockey games. So an assistant coach can be everything in terms of, kind of picking out the little things in certain players' games and really just improving the style of play as a group. So
hopefully the Flyers did a good thing there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And I don't see anything. Well, the Flyers, I think, they got to improve next year. I don't think I see them going downward, and And same thing with the Islanders. I mean, the Islanders play some really good. It was a good division, and hopefully it looks like they're going to play outside the division, outside the conference a little bit, where we can actually see where they stand amongst the other best teams. And that was the biggest thing I missed last year, because we really didn't know who was really good and who was, just good in their division, as we found out with Montreal, going ahead and beating the Golden Knights and going up there. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I can't wait for next year, and hopefully we get to see really early who's the better teams in the league and not just who's good in the conferences. So, Carter, thanks for coming in, and love having you in every week. Value your opinion and your thought process in hockey. I always learn a little bit every week you're in. So have a great day, Carter, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care, Carter.
So there you go. Carter B with our hockey update as we get in every Wednesday. I don't have my other guest in yet, Pags. I'm hoping he comes in because we'll have a lot of fun if he does. But until he does, let's talk a little bit about the Phillies. 15-50, 5-5 in the last 10 games. Everything's 50% for these guys. I swear to God. Does it drive you crazy? I mean, would you rather either win or lose? I mean, the Yankees lose. I'm a Yankee fan, but they lose, and I can deal with that. I know what they got to do. But when you're right there at 50-50 and on everything, I mean, which way do you go, man? I mean, do you sell? Do you buy? Do you trade? I mean, or do you just stand pat?
I tell you, excuse me. The frustrating part about them right now is the starting pitching. As funny as this sounds, we've been complaining about the back end of the bullpen. But lately, it's been the starting pitching that's been the issue. And it seems that they get themselves in a hole and then they're fighting back. And then, we wrote them off on Monday. I mean, I'm doing a show and it's 5-0 already. I'm like, oh man, every time I see double V, it's never a W. And next thing you know, they come back and they have a walk-off.
Right.
Which is great. They tried to do the same thing yesterday and they fell off a little short. They go up to Yankee Stadium. They get themselves in a hole. They fight back. They take the lead. The Yankees come back to tie it, and then they lose it in the 10th inning on a day where I'm not allowed to wear my face paint into the stadium. I look like I was about to have a stroke or that I was out in the sun for too long. It's watching this team, and I spent 3 days at the ballpark watching this team, and it's. When they're bad, they're bad. But when they're good and the ball, the ball's flying off the bat, I mean, they really are able to keep up with all of these teams. They do need somebody to be able to shore up in this pitchers. It seems like, all right, now that we finally got the back end of the bullpen doing something good, now the starting pitching is starting to go bad. And I just need this rotation to keep the other team under 4 runs.
Right.
4.5 runs. And we will win most of our games because we're hitting and we're scoring 5 to 6 runs a game. It's just when you're having games where we're losing 6-5 and 7-6, and when they score 15 runs, it's how do you keep up with that? You can't, and that's the problem. I hope that Cole Hamels is definitely anywhere near his form he was before, but I think it would actually put people in the stands for a minute, and he's better than what we've got. And I don't know why they wouldn't, give him a, hey, come on out here for the last bit of this, and let's see if we can re-spark some stuff from 2008 and 2009.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's like I said, I would rather either win or lose. At least I know where I stand. Backstage, we got our special guest in for you, Pags. This guy has written for the Philly Voice for a long time, broke some big stories with the Philly Voice, including a story about Carson Wentz, and he went on a lot of big shows to talk about that story. But he has a little different outlook on the Eagles, so I figured, Pags, I love you, and you're one of my best friends. But like every addict, you're one of the best Philly sports guys I know. Cover everything, everything about Philly sports. And so, such you're my friend, I had to kind of, I don't know, maybe do like an Eagles intervention with you. You know, like every addict needs an intervention. And I got Joe because Joe's been following Philly sports for a long time. And his opinion differs from you a little bit. So I want to bring in the big Joe Santo, and let's have a discussion, a real discussion now, about the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's bring him up. How you doing, Joe?
Good, I'm doing well.
So,
How do you bring somebody up from Philadelphia? He's wearing an Orioles hat.
Joe is like that. Joe just puts on different types of things just to bring interest towards the thing. So, Joe, I know Jack got with you, and we kind of, Pags runs a lot of different shows over there, and he has one called the NFC East. And on my program too, he's passionate about the Eagles. I mean, I love that about him.
Mm-hmm.
But he should know better. I mean, he's actually predicted that the Eagles will go maybe 11-6 this year. Now, 11-6 now. I mean, he takes the formula, he works it out, he's got the schedule, he's got like a chart, and he's figuring it all out. So, Joe, you covering the Eagles for long as you have, and I mean, you know a lot about the Eagles too, inside information in certain cases. What would be your projections for the Eagles this year?
6-11, 7-10.
Now that's the best, maybe, or could it be
that's
worse?
the best.
That's the best.
Yeah.
So what arrives you at that, at that mark, and then we have Pags who's saying, man, 11-6, ready to rock. So what arrives you at that?
Well, a couple factors. First off, you're dealing with a new coach, new system. He's learning them. They are learning him. You're dealing with a situation where there are veterans on this team that have to unlearn many, many things that they've been ingrained to think over time. And that takes time. Anything takes time, especially in the NFL. This comes from more than just me. This comes from people that know the game. This comes from Coach Vermeil, who I spoke to last week. He's still frustrated to the day that today you can't implement things in a program that you were able to do in his time, in terms of practicality, in terms of being out on the field and actually learning muscle memory from repetition over and over and over and over again. That's how you learn. That's how you progress. You learn by doing. And in this day and age in the NFL, there is it moves fast, and teams can overcome, and teams can move forward very quickly. But it also takes time to move fast. It's going to take time where you had that time to put in during preseason, during the time you had, especially at practice, which is far, far, far more limited than it's even been as recent as 10 years ago. So you're dealing with that factor. You're dealing with a factor of a strength of your offense is the combination of Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson on that right side. Well, over the last 2 years, with the combined 64 games, 16-16 for Brandon Brooks, 16-16 for Lane Johnson, they have played a combined 35 games together and started over the last 64. Brooks was on the trading block, and there's a reason why he was on the trading block prior to the season, because the Eagles simply just don't trust him. Brandon knows that. Brandon's very close to the end of his career. Lane, I like to think, still has some more career ahead of him, but Lane has not been able to stay very healthy for very long. He suffered an ankle injury and hasn't exactly been the same since the last few years. You have to ask the major question: who's your left tackle? I mean, right now, as we're all talking, we're sitting here at the 20 of 8. Well, it's certainly not Andre Dillard. Andre Dillard's done nothing. He has done nothing to merit his draft status. And you could turn around and say, yeah, Jordan Mailata, he's been serviceable, but serviceable at best. Jason Kelce, this may be and possibly probably be his last season as an Eagle. He's still been productive. He still does things. But again, you got to ask yourself how much longer Jason has to last, because if Kelce goes down, that whole thing, I mean, it's going to take some time for them to turn around and learn Sirianni's system and the defense It's going to take some time for everybody to get adjusted to some things. It's not an easy beginning of the schedule. And consequently, they're going to start, I think, playing the way they like to play, playing at the speed they like to play in Sirianni's system, maybe by mid-October, late October. And then from there, we'll see what Nick Sirianni's team can do. But there's going to be a lot of growing pains in the beginning. This team's going to start in a hole. And it's going to start in a hole simply for the fact that, let's quote, how about we quote Jeff Lurie, who turned around and parted ways. There's a number of reasons he parted ways with Doug Peterson. The main reason is because they wanted to appease their quarterback at the time, and we found out they didn't. But part of the reason why they parted ways is that Peterson still thought there was something left of this team to win. I mean, obviously he was the quarterback, he was the coach of the 2017 Super Bowl winning Eagles team. But now you're dealing with a situation where management itself turned around and said, you know what, we don't see this team going in the direction that you see it going in, Doug. That's part of the reason why Doug Peterson was fired, because he wanted to still win. He thought this team could still win. And that's where they had a point of contention there. And that's why, well, God bless him. I mean, Doug's on a beach sitting, drinking Mai Tais at $5 million a year. And Jeff Lurie, and let me see if I have him. I can quote him directly. We have we see this is the future. We see this team going. We see this team retooling, I believe, is the word he may have used. And so they themselves recognize that there's issues here. They got a nice draft package that's coming in for the Wentz deal. But right now, this is still it's an aged team that still has some remnants of that 2017 Super Bowl team. And here, the fact of the matter is, the Eagles themselves know they are not going to win, at least for a couple of years. And then obviously the major X factor is just how good Jalen Hurts is.
Yeah, Joe, I was going to get to that. I mean, really, Hurts is still a rookie to me. I mean, he played 4 games. That ain't nothing. You got to play at least a full season before they can call you a vet. And we're really not sure what he is yet. He's a great athlete. He's got stats-wise, he didn't do too good, but I wouldn't either if I was thrown into that mix, right? I don't care how great a quarterback you are. You've got to have a certain situation to grow in. He didn't have that chance. So this year is really his rookie season to me, especially under new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new basic. The whole situation and scheme is changing. So this is not going to be easy for him. I'm not saying he can't do it, and I'm not saying he can't be a great quarterback, but this year is going to be really tough for him, I think.
It is, and there's still going to be there's still some learning that needs to be done. Obviously, second year in the league, second coach. That's always that's never a good sign. But again, it's at least a new beginning. He at least gets to hit the reset button for the next 3 or 4 years, if he's even here for 3 or 4 years. And here's the conundrum that the Eagles are also faced with the stuff I've done and the more comprehensive story I did when Wentz was just about to be tossed out of Philly. Was this talking to the SEC people that know of Hurts, was with Hurts, and also faced Hurts, is this. Obviously, intangibles out the wazoo. He has he's a very good leader. He's outspoken. People follow him. And it's interesting that he has all the things that people were hoping Carson Wentz had. In terms of off the field. On the field, he doesn't have Wentz's arm strength. He does not have Wentz's accuracy. A number of the physical attributes that Wentz has in terms of being an NFL quarterback, Jalen Hurts does not. So far, he has not shown to possess. He can run. He can move. He can get out of situations. Under Sirianni, I think there's going to be more pass run balance, but it's still not going to be balanced enough to turn around and help him or help this team right now. This is a team that still has to rebuild, retool, and get younger. It's a team that still has major question marks going into the season because, as I stated again just a few minutes ago, you don't know what you're going to get out of your right side simply because Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson don't know what they're going to get out of their bodies going into the season.
So again, Pags, let me hit now. You're saying, they're going to have a great year this year and stuff. What do you think about what he's saying right now? Do you agree with a lot he's saying, or are you disagreeing with that?
So I agree with some of what he's saying, and I disagree with some. So I mean, of course, he went out and said, "Hey, I said they can go as high as 11-6." I actually tout them 9-7 or 9-8. I with the possibility of I don't think that they win the division at 9-8. I think that there's just going to be a 10-7 team out of this division. But I actually put a little bit more stock into Lane Johnson and Brooks and Kelsey. And I think that as long as they are able to stay healthy, which are big ifs, I mean, obviously, Brooks is probably very well rested right now because he had a whole year off. Lane Johnson, for the most part, only played 4 or 5 games last year. He's probably well rested. Kelsey is the big the question mark there because of course his body is starting to break down, and he really is the anchor of that line. Sayamalu himself, I can't wait till Dickerson gets in there because I feel like that he was the weakest link. And Mailata himself, I mean, this guy has been doing nothing but eat, sleep, and crapping, learning how to become a tackle in the NFL. And last year, when he was going heads up against people, he was probably one of the best. It was when they were doing stunts on him and stuff like that that he was really starting to get confused. He's had a whole off season now to learn that and watch the film and try to figure this out. And he's really a very astute guy. He's been doing everything he can to make sure that he can stay here. And my expectation is that's going to be the biggest battle to figure out who is going to be that tackle on that side, him or Dillard. That's as far as the competition. That's going to be a real competition, and the winner is going to be the tackle of the future moving forward for the Eagles. So it's going to be very interesting to kind of watch that. The one thing that the Eagles had last season that got touted a lot, that they never really used or showed, was speed. They had tons of speed, and they never really got it out there. I mean, it seemed like that Wentz couldn't seem to hit anybody, was calling his own plays, and none of those plays seemed to work. And ultimately, once it finally got Hurts out there and he was a little bit more dynamic, the speed was no longer a factor because he was running for his life because, we had guards at the time that were too busy fixing their gloves rather than finishing out a play. So when you have those types of things happening, you're going to it's not a recipe for success. I don't think that it's going to be as big a deal that Nick Sirianni comes in. Obviously there's a new scheme, there's a new stuff that's going on. I'm also looking to rely a little bit more on the defense. That this defensive coordinator knows a little bit about what a blitz is, and that the 4 guys that were rushing the quarterback would get there. There was a lot of hurries and such like that, but they never pulled up any type of blitz. They never put pressure on the quarterback in any other way other than that, and it showed. No turnovers, no real interceptions. Next thing you know, it's like you're losing 12 out of 16 games. So I believe that the defense is going to play a lot more a part. I think that the offense is going to take a little bit of time to start putting some points on the board. But as long as they can get into the 20s, that they're going to win some of these games. The hardest games that we have, the only teams that have winning records are coming to Philadelphia to play us here, and everybody else that we go out onto the road to, I mean, I think it has a combined record of like under 400 in the grand scheme of things. So when you have that type of schedule and you have everything that's kind of going along with that and just saying, okay, you got this, you got that. And of course, health is going to be a big factor. And the fact that they don't get these training camps in and they don't really allow these guys to hit or put on pads or anything like that anymore is going to be a really big deal, because it seems like the injury bug has hit us for the last 3 years straight. And that's, of course, getting hurt is going to be the big factor. But my expectation is that if everything holds true and we don't get hit with the injury bug and we do what we can do and we know what we can do and we start utilizing the assets that we do have, we're going to be able to actually put some points on the board and beat these teams, because these teams that we're playing are not that good. They're not that good.
Yeah, but hang on. The Eagles aren't that good. Brandon Brooks is going to be 32. Hasn't played a full season in 3 years. Lane Johnson's 31. Hasn't played a full season in 3 years. Kelsey's 34. He's the only one that's been consistent. Isaac Salmon is going to turn 28 in October, and people forget, and I forget, he missed 7 or 8 games last season between Dillard, who's 26, and has been absolutely awful, and he missed his entire second season with a torn bicep. He's also coming off something very major. So, and then on top of that, put in the added 17th game, and put in the added fact that the Eagles, I believe, their bye is late in the season, which I know for a fact, talking to some of these guys, they don't like too much.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of pounding on this group. And if you remember, their 2017 season from start to finish, with the exception of Jason Peters, that offensive line stayed fairly consistent. There were some guys that went down. But this is a group, it's deeper, I'll say, but there's got to be a lot of guys that are backing these guys up that, again, will be learning on the job. And it does, I'm sorry, Pags? It's Pags. There is a time situation, and there is a learning process that does go on at any level of football, high school, college, or pro. And that takes time to learn and feel out, especially in this day and age on the field. So that's going to be a factor, you know.
So Joe, before you go on that, let's talk about the defense for a minute. Pags brought it up. The Eagles have always been, in my opinion anyway, a very lunch bucket tough team. I mean, they'll fight you every yard on the field. They compete with you as hard as they can. They did change defense over, the defensive coordinator. But there's still a question right now, the defensive back position. I mean, they picked up Kerrigan, a little old in the tooth, but still a good defensive line player. The linebackers, maybe a little question mark. The defensive backs are maybe what's hurting them over the last couple of years. Did you see any improvement out there as far as on their defense? That is, Pags is saying if they play well and keep it under 20, they got a shot. The schedule's not that hard this year.
No, again, the schedule's not that hard, but the Eagles aren't that good. This is a team that has a roster. Okay, let's start with your best defensive player. Let's start with Fletcher Cox. He made his Pro Bowl, 6 straight Pro Bowl. I think it was 6 straight last year. But he's been doing that pretty much on reputation. You look at what he did in, I believe it was 2018. He had 10 or 11 sacks. But in 2019 and 2020, he's had 10 sacks combined. He seems to be slowing down. He seems to be having problems late in games, even far more pronounced than he did, we could say, during his prime. But this is a team that relies very, very heavily on its defensive front. Now, I will say this: they improved with the free agent acquisition of Nelson and Slay. So they have, we'll say, okay corners. I will say they're better than what they've had in the past. I also will say the linebacker core is better. Eric Wilson from the Vikings, Alex Singleton showed some things last season. He's an energy guy. TJ Edwards is a decent guy, and they're all big upgrades over Nate Jerry. But still, how many teams in the NFL really trade to find linebackers? This is no one. And the reason why the Eagles turned around and finally put some stock in the position because they saw how little they were getting out of their back seven. They saw how little they were getting out of the linebacker position. We saw some moments where, again, Singleton stepped up and played well. But these guys are still unreliable at best. Again, we don't know what they can do. And then, you're looking at the safety position where, again, Rodney McLeod is coming off of an injury. So there's serious questions in that area. This is a team that the last 6 years, 7-9, 7-9. They went 13-3 to win the Super Bowl, 9-7, 9-7, just barely making the playoffs in the last season, 4-11-1. You don't make huge jumps with a new coaching staff and an old team doubling a victory total while you have situations in Dallas where they come back with a program and a system. They come back with Dak, You have a system here in Washington under Rivera, another year under him. They're going to be better. Joe Judge and the Giants should have beaten the Eagles twice last season, but because of one Ingram drop, they didn't. So I don't know what you're going to get out of Rodney McLeod and Anthony Harrison at your cornerback positions, or I'm sorry, at your safety positions. So there's still very, very many question marks. I mean, this is going to be also an X factor here is Derek Barnett, and that's a huge factor. I mean, he last year he just disappeared. You know, he had that tendency to disappear early on in his career. But if anything, you're supposed to be better. If anything, you're supposed to improve through time. And he's gone the opposite direction, where you have Brandon Graham, who's an older, venerated veteran on this team, made one of the greatest plays, if not the greatest play in Eagles history, with the strip sack of Brady in Super Bowl 52. He seems to get better in time. And as we say in the boxing world, you know, that old man, Father Time's going to hit you. You don't know when. So there's a lot of holes here. They do have a strength on the defensive front again with Graham, Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Barnett. I mean, those guys put a ton of pressure on the quarterback with the even with the lack of blitzing that the Eagles performed. But you're still dealing with a back seven that is unproven and did very, very little in terms of being very, very little in terms of making game-changing plays. So there's still a lot of holes there. Darius Slay began to fall apart, you know, late last season. He had problems with some of the bigger, more pronounced, better wide receivers. Pags brought up speed. Yeah, the Eagles did have speed, and they still have speed. The problem with the speed was these guys didn't know where to go. And a lot of Carson Wentz's problem last year was, and we kind of know, I'm not exactly a Carson Wentz fan, but I will say this. Carson didn't change plays on purpose. Carson changed plays because he was given the freedom to change the plays. Now, he changed the plays to the wrong plays, so he deserves there's culpability there. But the other part of that is this, and this is where getting rid of Wentz. There's a number of reasons why getting rid of Wentz helps in the locker room as well as on the field. Is Wentz simply didn't trust these receivers. Now, I will give credit to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts did trust these guys in tight windows, whereas Wentz had no relationship with them on or off the field, and Wentz didn't trust these guys. So let's see what they do. Let's see what happens with that. I think what's going to help early on is they're going to pound the ball. They're going to rely a whole lot on Miles Sanders, and I think these guys here, keeping them healthy, will be a big factor in running the ball, and again, having that pass run balance. But still, there's way, way too many holes for this team to. There's way too many holes for this team to win.
So, Joe, I got to let you go. We got another guest coming up. Thanks for coming in. I wanted to get both perspectives. Now, Pags loves the Eagles, and you know, I don't. I mean, I'm the same way with the Giants, but I know a first-year team is going to have its problems. I know that, and man, I wish the Eagles well. I really hope they play. Pags, stay with me. Joe, we'll let you go. Have a great day. Thanks for coming in, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
Take care, Joe.
So there you go, Pags, from the Philly voice, Joel Santalaquito, giving his opinion. Now, of course, that's an opinion, right? I mean, you could be right, he could be right. Who knows? I just know that a first-year team that's already having problems under a new head coach and that is going to have growing pains. Not saying the Eagles stink. I'm just saying that it's going to be tough for them to make some headway this year. And maybe by the end of the year, maybe they start playing some real good ball and surprise everybody. You never know. So,
well, and I think that's part of this here is that they're going to. So, you know, obviously practicing with the Jets isn't a big deal, but practicing with the Patriots is going to really rub off of them some. And I feel like that's going to be really important. These combined practices, and they're one of only like 6 teams that are doing two teams, that they're going, checking out the Patriots, and then they're checking out the Jets. And I kind of like that. I like it brings a different perspective. It brings a different idea. It allows you to actually go and try to hurt somebody when you're practicing. Rather, when I say that, I don't mean it that way, but you know what I'm talking about, where you're going out a little bit more stronger against somebody else than you are against your own people. And I kind of like that. I think that that's going to help mold them a little bit better. And I think that in the process of this, hey, listen, Chip Kelly came in and made first year went right to the playoffs. Now, again, Chip Kelly had a whole weirdo system that they all had to learn, and he came in and he implemented it and it worked and he gets to the playoffs. There's no reason why. I mean, everybody is saying, "Hey, Nick Sirianni, he was, this is, a Stepford pick because they want to have control," and it's very possible that that's the case. But everybody was saying that he was a guy who was likely slated for after the end of this year to become a head coach. And the Eagles, as bad as they have been drafting players, have been very, very good at picking coaches.
Yes.
So
Pags,
that's the one thing I got to trust.
Pags, I got to let you go. In fact, you mentioned the Jets. After a quick commercial break, we have the head consultant, PR guy, the one and only Randy Lang is going to be coming up with us right after this. And you guys are going to be scrimmage. That new team, new coach too. I mean, that's not going to be easy. So all I can say is Philly fans out there, be patient. I know it stinks when, things are going. This is the first year for you guys under a new coach, new quarterback, new system. If you're competitive this year, if you're there by the end of the year winning some tough games, which I know the Eagles are always possible of doing, consider it a good year, and next year you take it to the next level. I just don't want to see my friend bummed out at the end of the year. I hate when he gets bummed out and he gets all upset and then he just, So anyway.
Yeah, I don't wear those losses on my sleeve. And you know what? Out of all that, our coach is only 1 year behind all of the other coaches in the NFC East.
That is true.
It's not like that they are, end all be all, like they've been in there. It's not like Tom Landry is coaching the Cowboys here.
Very true.
It's not
very true. I agree, Pags. I got to let you go because I got to get Mr. Lang in here right after the break. Thanks for coming in, Pags, and we'll see you again next week, my friend.
Take care.
All right, buddy. So there you go, folks. Philly sports guy, one of the most knowledgeable guys in Eagles, Philly sports period, with one of the great reporters from the Philly Voice on with us right today, Joe Santo. Folks, stay with us. Special guest. I love getting Jets love in here. Randy Lang's been on before. He knows all about the Jets. And, of course, as Pags says, the Jets will be scrimmaging the Eagles this year, which is a very cool segue I didn't even think about. We'll be right back after these few messages. Stick with us.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner? Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight. Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things.
I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink? Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol.
If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble. Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma.
I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on live Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. Just had the Philly sports guy with Philly voice reporter Joe Santo on with us. Great interviews from both. But now, guys, we got special guests coming up. We love having them on because the Jets we follow just as much as we do the other local teams. And Randy Lang, the senior PR consultant, we call him. I think that's the right title for him. He does everything over there as far as PR does. So let's bring on Randy Lang and see how he's doing today. How you doing today, Randy?
I'm doing fine. Happy training camp day.
Yes.
First practice coming up.
Yes, it is. I mean, I'm excited. I'm very excited about what the Jets are going to do this year under that new head coach. A little sad news. The assistant coach, Greg Knapp, died from being struck by a car while riding his bike near his home in California. We do send out our condolences to his wife and family and the Jets organization. He was a passing coordinator, only 58 years old, and that's very sad. And I heard they're going to dedicate maybe this year to him, which is very, very cool. The Jets. It's sad to see. You can't prepare for something like that, Randy. It's just a sad situation.
It was news for everyone, even for people who never met him, such as myself. But we all did hear him speak 2 weeks before the accident when he did a bit of reporters on the Jets, and across as being very knowledgeable. 28. He's been a head coach. Had been a coach, mostly a coordinator on offense, and he also was well liked by his players, even players who were not really necessarily part of the passing game coordinator situation, such as offensive linemen. I mean, they're involved, of course, but they have a few other things to worry about besides passing game. They loved him. And, it was just, a tragedy to hear the news and then to kind of gather that, he not only was in an accident, but he was not going to make it. And unfortunately, that was the case. And Robert Saleh was very heartfelt in his remarks yesterday, did not dwell on them, but he did make the statement about how much, what a great, I think he went through great coach, great leader, great father, great husband. Yeah. And he will be missed. And the players have felt it. And I don't know if it's going to be formal or not, but there will be a lot of players thinking about him all season.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just something that you don't expect, a rare thing that happens, and it's sad all the way around. So with that, you mentioned open day at training camp. There's a certain excitement that Saleh brings to the team. Even veteran guard Greg Van Roten said that he remembers seeing him jumping around on ESPN, and he said, "Man, that guy's got to calm down and take it easy." But he says, being around him during training camp, he's buying what he's selling. He's very excited about he says, cut it loose, play fast, have fun, all gas, no brakes. I mean, there's a new excitement in Jets camp right now, and it's very infectious.
There, and you want to be cynical or patient, take the long view. You could say, well, that usually happens with a new head coach, but it seems to be cut out of it off there. And the players, Van Roten had probably the most animated about what he remembered of having played against defenses at Carolina versus San Francisco a few years ago. But every player that we've heard speak, and whether we ask them the question or they volunteer it, Just love the attitude that he brings to the operation. I mean, he's not a wild man, in the meeting rooms. I don't think. I mean, I'm not there, but I think he kind of has a smoldering energy about him there, and then on the field, you can definitely tell, even before the games begin, how much the players feed off of what he brings and gives to his coaches, and then also to the entire 90-man unit at this moment.
Yeah, Randy, I mean, the Jets have had a lot of coaching changes over the years, and of course that always sets you back because you got to do a whole new strategy and you got to learn a whole new system. But to change a culture, you need a special coach. You need somebody that goes in there that's really exciting, that has a belief, that loves the game, that knows how to communicate. And from all accounts, everything I've read about Coach Sal, as a defensive coordinator, as a coach, the players love playing with this guy because he knows how to communicate. And I think being a head coach in that position, that's key for teaching, for putting a point across, for changing a culture. This guy's got to be able to communicate to the players what he's doing, because no matter what you do, you got to know why you're doing it. You got to be totally involved in the new process. If you're not, it's not going to work, Randy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the groundwork that had to be laid first, and he knew it. And I think so far so good. I mean, the players are all buying in. Now, as he says, adversity is coming. He's not a Pollyanna here. He knows that things are going to, take some detours along the road to wherever they're going. We've already seen a couple, with Greg Knapp's passing, and it's a minor thing at this point. But Zach Wilson is not in camp, as far as I know. He didn't report this morning. I haven't heard that he has. He and his agent and Joe Douglas and the Jets are still hammering out language in the contract to get him in. Sam Darnold, if you recall, I think he missed 3 days in 2018, and then came in and had a good rookie training camp and a decent 2018. Although how much he built off of that is up to the individual viewer and fan. But there's no reason to worry about that. But it is another little glitch. And as Saleh said, I mean, he's not, hey, listen, he knows the situation. He says it's business. It's business. Yeah. We're not worried about it. It'll get done. Joe's got a good handle on all these things. But he also did say, hey, Zach is a rookie. All rookies, all players, but especially rookies, need those reps. The reps are the most important thing in football, because you don't always get to play all the snaps you want in a game, and you don't always get to go out there during practice in the drills that are going to be featured in that week's game plan. Every snap every rep you take, every snap you take in practice is valuable, and Zach is not at the moment in position to get those snaps on the first day of camp. But we'll see. I mean, stranger things have happened, and maybe he flies in and he surprises us all today or tomorrow, and we're off and running.
Yeah, what I read, Randy, it was something to do with the offerings, where if, he doesn't finish out his contract and he gets signed by another team, that he has to give the money, or the other team has to give the money back to the organization, whatever it is. It's just language in the contract that's got to be worked out between him and his agent. I imagine they'll get that done. I mean, that's your first-round draft pick and maybe the future of your franchise. So I would imagine the Jets management will be on that right away. I've watched the Jets since I was a kid. My grandfather was a huge fan of the New York Jets. I'm not particularly a fan, but I do follow them and I do root for them in certain games and stuff, and certain situations. That division you guys have been in has been a monster. I mean, between the Patriots dominating, Buffalo last year dominating, Miami coming on, who knows what's going to happen with them this year. I mean, you guys got your work cut out for you to get competitive with these teams, never mind to win. So what do you got to say to the fans have been told year after year, wait, we're building. I mean, what are you going to say to the fans now? I think this is a time. This is a real time to be patient. The other ones, well, that's the past. Right now, I think you guys got something going there with the attitude. I think you guys are going to be competitive by the end of the year with these teams. You might even shock a couple of them. So, what would you say to the fans and viewers out there right now, Randy, about that?
Well, I think I know patience is a P word for the fans, so they don't want to hear it.
Right.
But it's like, hey, just enjoy the ride. What can I tell you? Because I think it's going to be a good ride. It's going to be a fun ride as they learn the new systems from Mike LaFleur, from Jeff Ulbrich. Of course, Brant Boyer's back, so special teams is in good hands. And so, you got all of this learning going on. And, that was one thing that Saleh also addressed yesterday, is that the installs are all in. I mean, it's not like they've got to do a lot of that once Zach Wilson reports. It's all in. And so that's a positive. Obviously, he's got that scripted and he's got that ahead of schedule. So, the road is going to be bumpy, but I think it will be scenic and it will be rewarding, and just enjoy, because you're going to be watching part of a brand new era of just for better or worse, but better. And you head coach, the new quarterback, a bunch of new players, and some of the old, so. It's a matter of the Jets have to be convinced that it's their time. I think we talked once in the past where I understand Jets frustration, because they're sitting there for a year waiting for the to move up into the upper echelon. And, they get windburn from all the teams going up, going down. New England, of course, for a long time, and yet they still twice last year without. So it's the Jets to make that kind of damage in, because that's where you're going to cement off berth. You the other way by being mediocre in your division, but it's very tough. And if in the division, you're rolling the dice whether you even get a berth, even in the 14-team playoff grid. So it's time for the Jets to, believe they're set. Believe in what Saleh is teaching to them, and keep their heads down. I think the thing he says, which sounds very simplistic, but it true. He says, our goal every day is fed better than we woke up. It's like work on something every day that makes you better. Every coach preaches that to one degree or another, but Saleh's got these great takes on what he needs to do and what the players need to do to get better and to make that step into the NFL's upper echelon. And so, like I said, just, if you don't want to be patient, just enjoy the ride for what, for what it's worth. And I think eventually, sooner than later, you will be rewarded.
I believe that too, Randy. As a coach, you're gonna you set up the season in like quarters, and you have a realistic view what's going to happen. I mean, you pretty much know. You've been around, you've coached, you've been around a lot of good teams or even bad teams, and you're not going to tell the players, we're only going to win 3 games or 4 games or 5 games. Of course, you go out there, we're going to win every game. But I know back in their minds, they have goals and standards and where they think they should be by the halfway and three-quarter way. And, of course, the fans really don't want to hear that either. They just want you to go out and win. And if that was that easy, everybody would have, over 500 record. It's not that easy. So, again, I'm with you. I mean, listen, I haven't seen a coach with this much excitement and bravo since Coach Ryan. And like him or hate him, he did bring the Jets to 2 championships, even with not the greatest quarterback in the world. So he had something they believed in. And to me, this coach, I think, maybe a better – maybe I maybe shouldn't say that because he really hasn't head coached yet. But I think he might be a better coach than Ryan was. But I think motivationally, he's right with him. And Ryan, they bought what Ryan sold, and they performed. And I think you got a winner here, Coach. I think you got a communicator, a guy who knows defense, which it still takes a good defense to win the games and championships, and a guy who's not as scared to go out and hire any other people or bring people with him. So I think you guys got a winner there. If the Jet fans can just be a little patient, just a little bit more, I think you guys have a real good shot within the next 2-3 years of being up there banging on the division first place door. I really do.
Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it? We all want that. Rex Ryan had his moments in the sun. As you mentioned, 2 AFC title games in 2009. After that season, after 2010, it seemed like it would go on for a while, and it did not. And the Jets still haven't been back to the playoffs since then. Yeah. So that's certainly a goal. I think another thing that Greg Van Roten said yesterday, which was indicative of, I think, the approach that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are taking to this team is, they're not trying. Certainly, I don't sense they're breaking the bank for, big names at this point, because as Van Roten made the analogy, he thinks that the Jets could be kind of like the Islanders. A little cross training, comparison, where the Islanders did not have, huge names, but they had players, all of whom bought into the system, all of whom bought into each other, and all of a sudden they're a dynamo in the NHL. Yeah. And that's what the Jets need to do, whether, Carl Lawson, for example. I mean, he's not a big name, but he's an intriguing name as far as the edge rusher goes. I'd like to see this guy take off. It's sure. His time too. Sure. You look at his sack numbers, you're not impressed. You look at his pressures, the guy's among the best in the league at pressuring and hitting the quarterback. He's got to turn that into either sacks for himself or sacks for his teammates, that's for sure. But I think that's going to happen, and he's going to be one of those guys. We'll talk about others. C.J. Mosley is back. Does he have anything left in the tank? He thinks he does. He talks very positively about where he feels he can be after missing basically 2 years with the Jets, playing in only 2 games in 2019. So it's CJ's turn. He was a big name, I think, with the Ravens. He can be a big name again. Go through the offensive group. I won't do that player by player, but they have a wide receiver group that's not distinguished, but there's a lot of intriguing players on there that I think can help Zach Wilson and the offense attain the heights that they want to attain, even this year, to turn around the 30th rankings, the 32nd rankings in offense, which the Jets have had on offense for the last couple of years. So, it's that time. Everybody's optimistic now. I know Jets fans in the back of their mind are, a little leery. They don't want to be burned again. I understand that, but I think this is the time where you start to see the real improvement, which Joe Douglas has talked about. We want to compete for the title every year. Well, this is where you start to climb that hill to competing every year. Will it happen this year? I'd say probably not, but I wouldn't count anything out in the NFL these days. And so it's time to see the Jets build under Saleh's direction and Joe Douglas's leadership.
And the draft, they did a real good job. They put another person on the left side. Their offensive line, they know whether you got to win in the trenches or you can't win at all. I felt bad a lot for Sam Darnold running for his life every week and trying to make plays. They definitely got to protect that young quarterback and get a running game going to take some pressure off the blitzes and just them pinning their ears back on third down and coming to get them. So it's got to be a team effort. I think you got the right coach, Randy, for that. The draft was smart, and he knows a lot of players around the league. So when some free agencies or trades come up that he may know this player, that'll help you guys out a lot too. So I think it's a great move. And if the Jets fans, like I said, and like you said, could just be patient that one more time, I think they got a winner over there. So I want to thank you for coming in, Randy. Always a pleasure having you on. Always like giving a little Jets love out there to some of our viewers and the Jet fans that follow us. And good luck. And maybe we'll see you sometime during the season or after preseason or something. And we'll talk again, Randy.
We'll talk again, and hopefully it's onward and upward.
Okay, Randy. Thanks for coming in again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So there you go, folks. Randy Lang, one of the Jets consultants over there at PR. I know he's responsible in social media and and the books they give out, the information, knows a lot about the Jets, and does a great job every time he comes in. So kudos to him for coming in and sharing some information with the Jets fans, which we have some out there that watch the show and watch the network. Folks, we got one more break coming up. On the other side of the break, we have one of the most knowledgeable guys in baseball. And I'm not talking the MLB. I'm talking about college baseball, the independent leagues. The man's all over it. So Brett Kell from Binging Baseball, I want to get that straightened out when he comes in, will be on next with us. Please stick around with us. We'll be back after these 3 minute at most commercials, and it'll be worth. My tongue isn't working right now. It'll be worth the wait because this man knows a lot about baseball, and he'll give you a lot of information. So stick with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye-bye. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again.
Alex is just
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Found some other kids I caught drinking here in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's gonna be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he gonna know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on live Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. You can also catch our shows on Instagram, Twitter. We're also on Zodiac Global TV, some of the shows. And you can also catch us on the Facebook pages, on Mac Sports, and the Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook page, and YouTube channel. So we're all over the place. We also got our audio up on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Pandora, and Spotify. So if you can't watch us, you can't make it to a screen, we're there on audio. You can listen to us in the car, at work, while you're hiking, running, whatever you're doing, exercising. You can hear all the great Northeast Streaming Sports shows. We do have another special guest. I'm loaded with guests today. I mean, we've had on Carter with the NHL. We've had on the Philly Sports Guy. We've had on Joe Santo with the Philly Voice, a famous reporter over there. Just had on Randy Lang, consultant at the PR department over the New York Jets. So up next, guys, we got one of my new favorite guests, a guy that knows a lot about baseball, the MLB college. He knows a lot about independent leagues. I mean, the guy knows everything about baseball. And I got to get that name of his site right. I don't know if it's Binging Baseball or Binging Baseball. But before I bring him up, because this is our MLB review, every Wednesday we do this. Let's do it right. So good morning, bud. How you doing this morning?
Good, and yourself? Now, you know the history of that song, don't you?
The history of it?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I know it was written way back in, I think, the 1930s or 40s. One or the other. I'm not sure the real history behind it.
But it's actually for women to sing, because back then a woman could go to a baseball game by herself. So she would just sing it to men, so they would accompany it to her to a game.
Wow, how things have changed. You know what I mean?
So, now it's a tradition that everyone sings at games. But back when it was first written, it was written for women to sing to men to accompany them to a baseball game.
That's very interesting, and it rings of truth because of the difference it was way back when between men and women. Now, you're from, is it Binging Baseball or Binging Baseball?
Binging Baseball.
All right. See, I've been saying it wrong.
There's two different ways to spell it, binging, and right. That was one I could actually get the website and the Facebook and the Twitter for. So, I much would rather have the E in the middle of that, but because of the way, availability of things, that's the way I had to go with it.
Yes. So, I will say Binging Baseball every time we talk about your site. So, starting, and finishing with the MLB, I mean, it's the end of July, and some things are true right now, Brett. The Red Sox, the Giants are for real, San Francisco Giants, and don't sleep on Milwaukee. And the Orioles, Arizona, and Texas are just bad teams. Do you agree with that?
Yes, the big thing is I just was looking at the last 10 and the run differentials are a lot of things I look at. The last 10 games and what the run differentials are, and that can give you a lot of information on what a team's been like and what they're doing. The Red Sox are 7-3 on their last 10, and the run differential is plus 69.
Yeah.
So, and like Houston is plus 143 on the run differential, and a lot of like you got the Giants and Dodgers and Padres are almost like they're plus 121, 145, and plus 96. So you can tell who's going to be your dominant playoff teams and going to make it by run differential, and then just where they're headed. Short, in the short term, just off their last 10. Are they hot right now, or are they cold?
Yeah, great point. And speaking about Baltimore, I know we've touched on this before, but to me it's sad, right? Baltimore in the late 60s, 70s was a baseball powerhouse. I mean, that team was always right next to, if not in the World Series and winning the World Series, they were a couple games away from doing it. And I'm trying to get in touch with some of the old Baltimore Orioles. I just reached out to one today about the teams back then. And I mean, they were in there and they were dogs. These guys were always around the World Series in the playoffs. And what do you think happened there, Brett? Is it just because they got a small market? Is it because of the ownership or way it's run in management? What has happened to the Baltimore Orioles? It blows my mind.
Well, I actually just last Saturday featured Camden Yards on my social media with the and a lot of fans, loved Camden when it first opened. They sat there and said that because they had a very good ball team. You had Ripken, you had Bell. I'm trying to think of a few other guys that were on that
Palmer
on the team.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I know Jim Palmer was one of the best pitchers in the league back in the 70s.
But when they opened up Camden Yards, and they said it was a full house all the time. They said anymore, the only time it becomes a full house or even close to it is when the Yankees or the Red Sox are in town. And so it's just a lot of people are blaming ownership. They're just the mismanagement of the team. What you get in return when you do get rid of someone, and what you get in free agency, and it's it's a beautiful ballpark, and people should just want to go see the ballpark sometimes, because I always look at baseball as a retreat, for 2 to 3 hours and just kind of disappear and let the world, be you're in a little safe bubble, and you just can compete the rest of the world, and the fans that commented, which was a highly commented post, that it's ownership that's the main problem.
Yeah, it's just comparing. It's like saying that Muhammad Ali was a great champion, and then his and if he's still in his prime, which is impossible, but then he can't fight anymore. It's just weird how that's been such a big change from one of the best teams in the league about 3-4 decades ago to one of the worst teams in the league for the last decade. It's too bad. So let's look at the AL East. We have Boston at 62-39, as you said, 7-3 in the last 10 games. 2 games up on the Rays, followed by the Yanks, the Blue Jays, and Baltimore. The Central, the White Sox are in control of their own destiny right now. They're at 60-41, 5-5 in the last 10 games, followed by Cleveland, Detroit, KC, and Minnesota. You have Houston, as you talked about again, 62-40, 6-4 in the last 10, followed by the A's, Seattle, Angels, and Texas. Now, I wasn't sure in the beginning of the year how that would affect Houston with the cheating scandal, the manager turnover, going with Dusty Baker, and the A's, who always look like they're near the playoffs. I mean, I don't know how they do it in that small market either, but they seem to find a way to knock on the door of the playoffs every year. Are you surprised at Houston that they overcame, all that, the cheating scandal? I mean, it's still out there. People still talk about it. They still get booed when they go to parks. Are you surprised how well they're playing this year?
No, it's a very, very talented team. You have pitching, you have hitting, you have defense. It's a talented team with a lot of experience. They have the playoff experience and also playing experience, and so it's just you can get something like that, and it just bonds the team together. Where they go and they're hated, and they'll just bond together even more and play even harder. Look at the Yankees. They're one of the most loved and most hated teams in all of baseball, and they go out there and just get their business done.
Yeah, not this year so much, but normally they do.
Because they just made another trade this morning for Justin Wilson and Luis Cessa to the Reds for players to be named later, and I'm already seeing comments on that where it's what are they doing? And some comments are they're setting up for everything for the next couple of days, getting rid of players so they can add players, and then other people are saying that okay, maybe they're ready to blow it up, and then they're dumping what they can dump right now to try to get rebuilding, or as I always like to say, some teams rebuild, some teams just reload.
That's true. That's very true. So in the National League East, the Mets are 53-46, 6-4 in the last 10, followed by Philly, Atlanta, Washington, and the Marlins. In the Central, you got Milwaukee, 54-42, 6-4 in their last 10, followed by Cincinnati, St. Louis, the Cubs, and Pittsburgh. And San Fran at 63-37, 5-5 last 10. They lead the Dodgers after win last night by 3 games, followed by San Diego, who I think is 5.5 back, Colorado and Arizona. Arizona should just, I don't know, become a AAA team and get it over with. But San Francisco, I love this story. I love the Boston story. Nobody knows the players on San Fran, really. I mean, the novel fan doesn't. And nobody really knows the names of the Boston Red Sox players on the West Coast or Middle America. And this is what's great about stories like this, Brett, where teams can, all of a sudden come out of nowhere. Everybody thought Boston was going to finish 4th. Nobody was talking about the Giants. It was all Dodgers and the Padres. And these two teams have come to the top and are playing great ball right now.
It's just, again, you have the experience of San Francisco, and how many years in a row, or how many of the was it even years that they went to the World Series? About 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that it seemed like every other year they're in the World Series on San Fran. The surprise for me is more Milwaukee out of the NL. They're just kind of just running away with it when you have teams like Chicago and St. Louis in that division, that Milwaukee's just kind of just running away with it. And then the West, they have three of the 4 best teams in the whole National League in the West. So that's going to be definitely really competitive. They're only separated by 5.5 from the top of the West to the 3rd place in the West. So it's still anyone's ball game on who's going to win the West on from there. But Milwaukee, unless they crumble, but one team I never count on is St. Louis. There's always a scrappy team that just can sometimes just figure out how to get things done. So, but even the East is going to be interesting because you have 3 teams within 4 games of each other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised the East has such a problem this year. But all 3 teams in the West there are going to make the playoffs. The Giants, Dodgers, and the Padres. There's no doubt about that. So let's go to the game leaders and the locals here, Brett. You got Milwaukee, who destroyed Pittsburgh last night, 9-0. Chicago beat KC 5-3. As I said, the Giants they did beat the Dodgers 2-1 in a pitching duel last night. Houston beat Seattle 8-6. So your leaders, Boston didn't play last night. Your leaders are taking care of business right now. They're all winning. They're keeping that hotness alive. They're not slowing up at all, which is exciting. And the locals, Philly loses 6-4 to Washington. You had a 3-run second inning in Washington. Bryce Harper did go 3 for 5 for Philly. Matt Moore was tagged for 7 runs. That's terrible. And 6 runs and 7 hits, I should say, during his appearance. The Mets get spanked by the Braves 12-5. Jeff McNeil went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Their pitcher, let me see if I can get that information here. Their pitcher for the Mets last night was Eckhoff, who 7 hits and 10 runs. The Yankees did win 4-3 over the Rays. Gio Urshela, probably the most consistent Yankee out there, Brett. I mean, we talk about Judge, we talk about Stanton, we talk about a few other big names, but really Urshela is probably the most consistent hitter and one of the best defensive players on the Yankees right now.
Yeah, and they're definitely developing some talent there. That and you even talked about the Giants and the Red Sox having some not so big names, but the Yankees are even having some of those guys, and they're going to develop into some of those players if they keep it together with developing that name factor throughout the league.
Yeah, they do have a couple young players in the outfield right now that are doing well for them, with Hicks out and Judge being out for the while he was. Garner's in and out of the lineup. So they do have a couple young guns out there that are at least they're playing hard. They're taking the extra bases. They're making some great plays in the outfield, diving for the ball and stuff. So maybe it's a good sign for the Yankees that they got some young youth in there right now trying to do some things. So as I said, Gio Urshela went 2 for 4. Montgomery went for 5 innings, 5 hits, no runs. That's the first win for him in a while for the Yankees. And again, of course, we all know to have a good team, you've got to have good starting pitching. Chapman came in. I'd like to lose that game, man. But he did get the save. But Montgomery get the win. Biggest problem with me, the Yankees, and I go back all the way with the Yankees, Brett, is starting pitcher. When they had starting pitcher, when they had Clemens, when they had Cone, when they had Wells, even CC Sabathia when he was younger, that's when they won the World Series. And, you can't find Mariano Rivera's out there to come out there and try to save your game every game, or you can't get relievers to go in there when the games, went by and it's 4 runs in the second inning. That relief squad doesn't matter. The Yankees still got to get starting pitching if they're going to compete in the next couple of years, Brett.
Yeah, and it's just you got to make sure you're giving your pitcher some run support, and especially early. There's been some great pitchers out there that have almost like a 500 career record, and whether if you look at their ERA, their WHIP, a lot of the other stats, they're a Hall of Fame pitcher, but they're a 500 pitcher because they're not getting that run support that they need, especially early. Because when you have to go out there and you get down 5-0 and going into the fourth, you're gonna have to really push harder. But if you flip flop that the other way around and you're leading 5-0 and you're hitting the mound, you can get out there and be a little bit more risky with some of your pitches and things like that to try to get guys. A good example of that is Zach Greinke when he was with the Royals. Just a phenomenal pitcher, but he's probably about a 500 pitcher when he was there. Probably besides his Cy Young year, just because he never got the run support that he needed.
That's the biggest knock on DeGrom, who's probably the best pitcher when healthy in the league. I think he went 7-9 and his ERA was like 1 point whatever. The Mets didn't give him the support. And you're right, because if you're going out there and you're trying to make the perfect pitch all the time, it's got to be nerve-wracking. I know it's physically taxing on you, right? If you can go out there and just throw, which is what you're supposed to be doing as a pitcher, just throw your stuff and fool around a little bit, keep the batter off balance instead of trying to make sure every pitch is perfect. If you go out there, like you said, with an early lead, it takes all that pressure off you, where you don't have to, worry about giving up 1 run and losing the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of sometimes what I talk to some of the kids I've coached through the years or played with and stuff like that. Is sometimes you almost need to go out there and think. Sometimes as a pitcher, you have that lead already. You need to go out there and be relaxed and not have to worry about that scoreboard and do your thing. And that's where some of the greats do it. And they can go out there and be down 3-0 after the first inning and realize, okay, it's only 3 runs. We can get that back easily. And just have that right mentality when you're going up on the hill to get those things done.
No doubt. Who do you think out of all the just to let the folks out there know, Boston does start their series with the Blue Jays today at 2. They didn't play last night, so they'll be starting that series with the Blue Jays today. Who do you think has been done the best managing job this year? Me and Jack kind of debated it a little bit. He took Cora, which I thought was a good pick, of course, and I took the Milwaukee Brewers manager. Who do you think, personally? Who do you think, Brett, has really done the best managing job this year?
I think it's, if I remember right, it's Counsell with the Brewers, and I think he's just done an amazing job because, like I said, that division is usually almost every year is a dogfight. That's usually where you're never sure until September who's going to win that division and maybe get the wild card. Is you just never know what's going to happen between especially with the Cubs and the Cardinals in that division, and then you got the Pirates and the Brewers and the Reds that just kind of occasionally, come up every year. And so I definitely, I think Corey's got a little bit more experience, with that. So if anything, I have to give a little bit of nod to Counsell and the Brewers.
Okay. So we really haven't done this since you've been on. So tell the folks out there, the viewers, a little bit about your site of Binging Baseball. I mean, give them a little rundown of what kind of information that you're providing to everybody out there. Because, folks, I'm telling you, go check this out. If you love baseball, Binging Baseball is where you got to go. So give us a rundown of what goes on over there, Brett.
Okay, so on I kind of have everything broken down by days. On Sundays, I do independent minor league baseball, and I call it Support Independent Sundays. Mondays, I have minor league Mondays, which are affiliated minor league teams. On Tuesdays, I feature mascots from all levels. And then on Wednesdays is Woodbat Wednesdays for the collegiate Woodbat teams. Thursdays are leagues, but I'm going to kind of switch that up because I think I've almost featured every single league out there on all levels. And then on Fridays, I call Free for All Friday. I do a lot of just different things. I'll feature movies, books, Negro League players, Hall of Fame managers, Hall of Fame announcers, weird things like the yellow baseball that was used for one season back in the early 1900s.
Wait a minute. Oh, yellow baseball. Seriously.
Yes, it's in the Hall of Fame. They used the yellow baseball off and on a little bit in the early 1900s as an experiment. And they've actually talked about, one of the things that's talking about maybe possibly bringing that back. And, it's yellow with the red stitches. You can go to halloffame.org and read all about it. And then on Saturdays, I do stadiums, and I feature stadiums for all different levels. And it's fun to see the different stadiums and what their dimensions are like. And, like Pensacola is pretty much out on the peninsula, and it's almost surrounded by water on three sides for the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. And just kind of see the layout of the fields, modern Woodman and Davenport, Iowa, where the Quad City river bands are, is right on the Mississippi, and it's like it's kind of like AT&T where you have the splash zone, so guys could hit it into the Mississippi River, and there's a nice arching bridge right off right field, so it's got a nice view to it, and so it's just fun to see what's all out there for all levels when it comes to just various things. For those teams and leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I want to hear a little bit more about this yellow baseball. Now, did they do that so you could see it better, or at nighttime, or against the sun, or against the clouds? What was the thought process? Do you know, Brett?
I really can't remember. That was one of my first posts I did. I believe it was for probably to see better. It's not like today where there's all this technology where some guys will wear red sunglasses or red tinted glasses to pick up the seams better. Some guys have worn, green in golf just to kind of see the layout of the they'll use the tint to pick up what they're trying to pick up, the color they're trying to pick up. But it was used as an experiment, and it's just fun researching all the history of baseball.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And just like the moving around of teams, and some people don't realize that the Twins and the Rangers used to be the Washington Senators, and then that they moved twice, and that the Milwaukee Brewers used to be the Seattle Pilots, and teams have moved around and moved around so much that sometimes you don't even realize that the Atlanta Braves have moved twice now, where they were the Boston Braves and the Milwaukee Braves, then the Atlanta Braves, and so it's just fun to kind of dive into baseball and give some people some, another one that was good that I did this last week was, and it had a funny connection, was I did the Toledo Mud Hens, and how many people connected that with MASH and Klingler wearing the Mud Hens hat and jersey on MASH, and then getting the comparison of Well, this generation or this iteration of the Mud Hens actually wasn't around when MASH was supposed to be set in, because they kind of bounced around themselves a little bit, and now it's on this iteration of the Mud Hens. But because they're, people called me out on some of the history of things, and I had to go back and research it myself, which is nice, because I'd rather someone call me out and have to correct my information and make sure it's right than have someone, just call me out and call me an idiot and say you don't know what you're talking about. If they sit there and say, hey, I'm trying to think. I did Larry Doby last Friday, and someone said, well, you're missing one of his championships for the Newark Eagles. And what I went right away, looked at it, and one added it to it. So I love that, because I only can do so much research. I have a full-time job, and so I only can do so much research and information that I can do, and so it's nice when the fans want to interact back and correct things and look at it and ask questions like.
I'll tell you, Brett, I think you know more about baseball than most people. I mean, they may be able to call you out once in a while, but I mean, the knowledge you have of it is unbelievable. Let me talk to you real quick before we leave. The mound has changed over the years. They've lowered the mound because the pitchers had a big advantage, right? So they want to give the hitters an advantage. They've changed the ball. I mean, the ball used to not always be, it was cowhide, horsehide. It's tighter. It's the bats are a little bit more, a little bit more lighter and a little bit more compact and harder than they used to be. The stadiums have been brought in, so there's more home runs. Everything has been to benefit the hitter. I mean, if you think about it, they want the offense. I know they do. It's a little bit. They think it's more exciting than a 2-1 ball game, 12-11. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. I love to watch great pitchers go against hitters and shut them down sometimes. At least, they got the batting tar. So they come out and they're going to come down on the pitchers for using sticky substances, when the batters can use a sticky substance on their bats so they can hold and control the bat better. What do you think about them coming down on the rules? Pitchers have been using some sort of grip help on baseballs forever, whether it's all the way back to the spitball and roughing it up, and the rosin was used for that. What do you think about that? Do you think that maybe they should just let that spider, I forget exactly the term it's called, do you think they should just let that go? I mean, they've even Brett, made the seam smaller so it's harder to hold the ball. They've done everything they can to help the batters, but nothing helped the pitchers.
Well, and Trevor Bauer, I know he's a controversial topic right now, but he actually did a video about a month or two ago about taking sweat and rosin, and it becomes a sticky substance. Sure. So you can almost palm a ball going like that, just off of sweat and rosin. And so I know a lot of hitters sat there and said they'd rather have a pitcher that has control of the ball throwing at 95 than a pitcher that doesn't have control, because I wish I have a baseball at my desk, brand new baseball, and I can at work that I can just kind of sit there and just squeeze it, and it just shoots right up out of my fingers.
Sure.
It's kind of a little nervous habit I do with it, and it's a brand new baseball, and it shouldn't be slick like that.
Right, I agree. I mean, they've done everything since the days since the beginning of baseball to try to get the batter. I mean, Babe Ruth swung a 2x4 for God's sakes and still did okay. But, I just, and one other thing, I mean, we're getting close to the end here. The rule changes to speed up the game. I got no problem with speeding up the game. I think maybe it should be done. Maybe the pitcher shouldn't take as much time between pitches. Maybe the batter shouldn't be allowed to jump in on the batter's box every time he feels like it. But when they make rules to change the outcome of games, when they put a guy on second base, when they only go 7 innings in a doubleheader, I mean, to me, that changes the game itself. It doesn't speed up the game. It makes the game different. And, again, if you want to speed up the game by putting a second counter on the pitcher to go, or batter can't get out of the bat, that's fine. I got no problem with that. But if you're going to change the outcome of a game because the relief pitcher may not be good in the 7th inning, or you shouldn't have a runner on second for an advantage, I think that's bad for the game. What are your thoughts?
Well, I believe in play 9. You know, the game's designed to play 9. And we've had a couple of no-hit 7-inning games, and you know, you're taking away a chance at a record for some pitchers. I don't like the runner on second base calls a little bloop single and score a guy very easily. And then some leagues are experimenting in the minor leagues with the home run derby to end a game, and I don't like that either. I'm a traditionalist of play 9. If you go 20 innings, you go 20 innings. And some of the best baseball you can get, where you get most people watching, is those extra inning games, because it's a coin flip at that point. Yes, the home team has about a 55% advantage going into any extra inning game, but I'm definitely a traditionalist. I know you said we have to go. I just want to feature, like, I got the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp on today.
Beautiful.
They're the AAA of the Marlins. And then if no one's watched it yet, there is Alex Gordon, retired last year from the Royals. The first pitch the other day, last Saturday, was thrown from left field. He started out in the majors as a third baseman, moved to left field. I believe won 8 Gold Gloves as a left fielder.
Wow.
And they had Gordo DeSalvi one last time because Gordon had so many outfield assists. They actually had him throw the first pitch from left field.
Interesting.
That's the first time I've ever seen a first pitch not thrown from the mound or in front of the mound.
That's awesome.
So I thought it was pretty cool that they had him go out to the left and throw it in from there.
Okay, so on that note, first pitch coming from the outfield. We got to go, folks. We'll be back tomorrow, Thursday, 8 to 10 a.m. with our boxing show, where we schedule to have Iceman John Scully. Jack should be back. We'll do a boxing highlight where we spotlight a certain boxer. We'll even get our Wall of Fame in tomorrow, and that ain't gonna happen. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks to Brett. Thanks to all the guests that came on today. We appreciate it. See you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a